But thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Michael Manishin. I'm the Vice President of Client Services for the ePerformance Business Unit, and I'm joined by Ben Whittable, a Senior Business Analyst on our team. So you've joined today to learn a little bit more about Grant Plus, which is a grants and contributions as well as scholarship management system that we've built. Ben, if you could go to the next slide, please. So a little bit, a quick kind of agenda, and a little bit of housekeeping. So we'll do a brief intro, a little bit about us. We'll also discuss kind of what Grant Plus is to a further detailed level. We'll go through kind of a case study as well as a demo, and then we can kind of circle back to the Q&A. So just a reminder for everybody, there is a Q&A tab within the Teams window. So if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to kind of ask them in there, and we'll do our very best to get back to you either during this session or afterwards. We'll follow up. So yeah, please feel free to drop any questions in there. So a little bit about us. We've been in the granting space for medium and large enterprise grants management solutions for around 20 years, over 20 years actually. And it's been based on Microsoft technologies. So varying levels of CRM, all the way from CRM 4 to the now Dynamics 365 platform. We promote better practices within the grants management space. So we're very familiar with grants. We've seen a lot of various different programs, and we're always willing to kind of learn new and exciting ways of delivering granting. We're recommended by Microsoft to its clients for grant automation solutions. We have a couple of our products on the Microsoft App Store, and they recommend us to their clients who are looking for solutions in the space. We're staffed with certified Microsoft professionals and grants automation specialists. So again, we've been doing this a long time, so we're very familiar with the grants lexicon and as well as with the Microsoft platform. And just recently, we joined the Kofimo family in May 2025, and that gives us kind of a lot of access to very great resources that are Microsoft certified specialists as well. So a little bit continuing on a little bit about us, we have a list of kind of our key services here that we deliver and our solutions. So just really quickly, we have secure cloud technology. So not only do we deliver solutions for clients to host themselves, but we can also be a SaaS provider as well. So we can host the solution for you if that's something that you're interested in. We deliver solutions within the Dynamics practice and platform that they don't have to be grants or security, which we'll talk about today. We're very well versed in the tool, as I mentioned before, and have no problem on delivering whatever the solutions needs could be. Again, that's the Microsoft Dynamics consulting wing of our practice. So being so experienced within the platform, we talk the talk and walk the walk. So we can help deliver with any kind of solution that your organization may need. And that goes for business transformation as well. So maybe not even the technical piece, maybe it's establishing requirements, building out the transformation that is necessary for your organization to move to a technology like Microsoft or like a granting solution would. We can help in those arenas as well. Now, as for our solutions, we like to focus our energy on two solutions that we've created on top of the Microsoft platform. And those are the funding management system, which is otherwise known as Grant Plus, which we're going to learn about today and see today. Ben's going to walk us through kind of a demo of that. And also we focus our energy on Security Plus, which is a security screening solution that we have also built on top of the Microsoft Dynamics platform. So we'll be hosting many webinars on that in the future as well. So please stay tuned if you're interested in kind of that segment also. So what is Grant Plus? Grant Plus is a cloud-based software application leveraging Dynamics 365 and sits upon the Power Platform. And the point of it really is to support the automation of government grants management. So everything from the application process, an end user logging in, filling in an application form, to the program back office reviewing and approving, and then administering that grant. That's what this solution kind of focuses its energy on. It is designed specifically for Canadian government, but can be further configured to meet the unique requirements of any granting organization. So it doesn't have to be Canadian government; can be every level of down to municipal to federal. But yeah, we're very familiar with the flow through of what grants are. Speaking of which, these are the five on the left-hand side. You can see kind of 5 boxes that these are the main areas that Grant Plus kind of delivers very well on. So we have your typical grant program, contribution programs, subsidies, scholarships, and loans. So these are the kind of the 5 pillars that Grant Plus supports and sustains. And the delivery model that we use for the majority of those is similar, and can be viewed in the center there for all the way from program design all the way to performance monitoring. Now, obviously, each area requires its own thinking and potentially unique client funding model. So all of these modular areas can be configured to line up to unique requirements. So it doesn't have to be an out of the box type of thing. If you have a unique business process flow or submission intake flow, etc., we would be able to sit with you, understand what it is that you have to deliver upon, and configure the system to meet the needs that you require. So a little feature overview. This is from the perspective of anyone logging into the intake portal. So if I were applying for a grant or if I were reviewing others' applications, this is kind of the feature set that I would have available to me. And Ben, like I said, Ben will be taking us through that very shortly. So we have the ability to interface with many different login services, Secure Key being one of them, and very popular for our federal clients. I would also be able to see a submission portfolio once I've logged in. So basically, any submissions I have in progress, any I've already submitted before, any programs that are available to me as an applicant, I would see in one easy to use list. I also would see the submission life cycle. So if I've applied for a program, I would be able to see my application. Then later on in that program, as it's being administered, maybe I'd need to sign an agreement. That agreement would then be available to me in the portal as well, and it would all be in a kind of a logical area named with a case number, and I would be able to see everything that I need to do in order to succeed with that granting program in one easy to use area. I also would be able to include my profiles and history. So any information about my organization, any information about applicants that belong within that organization. Maybe it's not just me that's applying, but I have a team of people that work with me to apply. I would be able to manage and maintain that list in a very easy to use area as well. I would also be able to perform a request, so I wouldn't have to wait for the program office to get back to me. I would be able to make a service request on my behalf. Maybe I've put in some wrong information and I require an adjustment on something that I've already submitted. I would be able to proactively take that action and request an amendment for that in that example. And then I mentioned that the external facing folks can be either applicants or reviewers. And this is similar to the submission portfolio. I would be able to see a reviewer portfolio. So any of the applications that have been assigned to me to review, I would be able to go to a one-stop shop and be able to see the list of all of the case files that have been sent my way to review. So that's from the external facing point of view. Now, the internal facing point of view would be the Grant Plus program office. So, some of these line up and some of them are obviously more expansive. But the application submissions log, I would be able to see a list of all of the applications that are coming across, slash all of the submissions. I mentioned agreements that were signed before. I would be able to see those as well from the back end, from the program office point of view. I would also be able to see assessment checklists. So maybe an application has come in and I'm going through my checklist for assessment to see if they're eligible for funding. I would be able to see a list in a workable area within the back end for me to kind of give approval and move that to the next phase. I would be able to see decisions. I would be able to make decisions on case files, either approving them to the next phase within the program delivery, or potentially rejecting, potentially requesting an amendment, etc. I would be able to control all of that from this area as well. I would be able to see the project's budget, what they're requesting, what's been approved, what the overall program budget would be, all from a workable area as well. And then we touched on agreements also, and I would be able to see any formal agreement that's been signed and submitted in one area, in case I would need to review that as well. So this is a comprehensive list of key system features. It's not all of them, but it's the main hit list. You can see that there's kind of a wealth of feature sets from the web portal area to the applicant, user and reviewer roles, and the program office. So many of these features that you'll be seeing today in Ben's demo. But if you have any questions about the specifics of the nuts and bolts or how any of these work, please feel free to ask, and we'd be happy to kind of go into a detailed example to show you. And with that, I would like to hand it over to Ben Wittebol, our senior business analyst, who's going to take us through a grant demo.
Thank you, Michael. All right, so what we're going to be seeing today is a lot of what Michael has touched on in the last 15 minutes. What we're going to see is 4 different parties involved in this scenario. And for the purposes of this presentation, we're going to see I have multiple tabs open and some of the forms pre-filled to expedite this demo process. So we're going to be looking at 4 primary participants here. We've got Sarah, who's our applicant, who wants to apply for funding. She can review agreements, submit progress reports, all through that portal. Felix, our program manager, can manage the administration, review, and approval of the applications. So once the application has been submitted, Felix can take that look, see if it fits. Leila will be our financial analyst. She will be conducting financial reviews and approvals and provide a comprehensive overall financial oversight. And last but not least, we've got Mark. He's our external reviewer. He'll review all eligible applications to determine which applicants he feels should qualify for funding. So first, we're going to take a look at Sarah. Sarah plans to build a multi-purpose community center for youth programs and events and seeks funding through the Community Capacity Fund. So what we're going to do here is just take a quick jump. So we're going to start here. This is the portal. All I've done so far is I've gone ahead and I've logged in as Sarah. This is the landing page or the home page. One theme we're going to see is this is all fully configurable. Everything we're going to look at, this is kind of a starting point. We've got some basic information about how to use the portal, but this can all be configured to your specific needs. When we look at the menu, right now it's a relatively long list. I'm not going to go through these one by one, but we will be touching on a number of these throughout the course of the demo. But for this specific part of the demo, we're going to be looking at the funding opportunities. So this is where Sarah can see what's available to her through the portal. I'm going to scroll down here. We'll notice there's a total of 4 tiles right now. When we look across the top 3, we have a details button for each. But then when we look at the Community Capacity Fund, we've got a details option, a button, and an apply button. So what this means is the top 3 funding opportunities are there for information purposes only. They're not currently open, but they are there for a future opportunity. If we want to focus on the Community Capacity Fund, the details button here will show a lot more information than is available in that tile. So we can get a greater understanding of what we can expect from this funding opportunity, make sure that our application or our project really does fit within what this funding opportunity is meant to deal with. Now I'm going to click this little breadcrumb up here. I'm going to click on funding opportunities, and all that does, it's another way to navigate through the system. It's just a convenient way to get back to where we were before. So what Sarah's going to do now, we're going to click the apply button. Now this will take us to an eligibility questionnaire. So the system can be configured to have the applicants go through this eligibility questionnaire first to make sure before they go through the effort of filling in a full application that they actually do meet the requirements for this funding opportunity. Again, I said you're going to be hearing me say it a lot. This is fully configurable and actually even an optional part of this process. We don't need to have the eligibility questionnaire, but it's a nice to have just to make sure that your applicants are on the right step. So from here, we've answered all the questions successfully. I would go ahead and click the submit button. I am just going to jump over to a second tab just because I've gone ahead of time and filled in all these mandatory fields. So what we want to look at, a couple things first. Again, this is a demo environment. We've got some sample fields here. We do have the ability to mark certain fields as mandatory or required. So that is designated with the red asterisk and the required after the field label. On this specific page, everything is mandatory. So when all the information is filled in, the user can go down to the validate and save button, and then that will save checking for the information in those mandatory fields. Another thing I want to point out quickly is you can see we've got these green check marks on the first 4 sections. This just signifies that I have gone ahead and successfully saved those. So all the information in all these tabs that is mandatory has been filled in. The validate and save button has been pressed. So we see here the very last option or field here does not have that red asterisk. It does not say required. So this is an optional field. This doesn't need to be filled in. So all of this can be fully configured to whatever your needs are, whatever the funding opportunity is. As we saw before on the funding opportunities page, you can have multiple funding opportunities available at any time. I'm going to go down to the supporting documents now. We see a gray circle with a white exclamation mark in it. This means the section has not been completed. So what I need to do, what Sarah needs to do, is go in and add any and all supporting documentation. So we put as much information as we could into the fields, but now is the opportunity to add those electronic documents. It could be maybe a detailed budget. Here we've got some sample supporting document types. Again, fully configurable. What we want to do, we can click the browse button, and this is just a standard web browse/upload feature. Click submit now that I've selected a file. And then we can upload that file One of the key pieces here is also the system can be configured so that Sarah can actually invite or include another user. So say her manager, she wants her manager to review this before she submits it. The system can be configured to allow those kind of additional roles to see this information before it is submitted on the portal side. Now we've got a final review tab here at the bottom of this left-hand menu, and what this does is it just confirms that all these sections have been fully completed, validated, and saved. And so now we can go ahead and submit this application. Michael did allude to it before. We do have on the portal a section where Sarah or any applicant can actually reach out to the program office to ask questions. So that's another useful part of the system. Now we're going to take a look at Felix. So Sarah has gone through the eligibility questionnaire. Sarah has completely filled in that application for the community capacity or funding opportunity. And now Felix, who manages the administration review and approval of the application, can have a chance to take a look at that submission to determine if he feels it's a valid candidate to move forward in the process. We go back to the browser here. I am here logged in as Felix in the program office, so the CRM side of things. Quickly want to touch on the program dashboards. You can see here we've got a lot of information provided in a graphical sense. This gives an overall overview of what's in the system. You can see we've got accounts here, submissions. There's a lot of different options. And again, to sound like a broken record, this is also fully configurable. Doesn't have to be what we are showing here, but there's pretty much anything within the system can be shown here in any variety of fashion or graphical fashion. It could be tables as well, we see down here. So it's a very flexible and very powerful part of the system. What we want to do now, we want to look as Felix, we want to look at Sarah's most recent submission or her application. So here in the general tab, we've got an overview of the application. As Felix, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the decision. So again, Michael alluded to this earlier. We're going to look at the decisions. And as Felix, I'm going to start my due diligence. Starting review of application. So what we are going to do, and yes, I'm sure I want to make this change. As Felix, I'm going to now go to the submission tab. We'll take a look, and this is exactly what, so we get to see every field, all the contents of every field that we saw as Sarah on the portal, but now from Felix's perspective on the back end. So we've got some project details here. So all the information, as I said, all the information that was provided on the portal is available here, including those uploads. So all the supporting documents, Sarah only added one, so we only see one here, but if there were multiple added, Felix would have a chance to review those all here. So going through this maybe a little faster than is realistic, but now that we've had a chance as Felix to take a look at that submission and all the information that Sarah had provided, we're going to go and say, you know what, I agree. I think this is a positive. We're going to go with due diligence passed. Now, alternatively, if Felix has reviewed the submission and decided that the information included in that application does not meet the requirements or is not in line with what the funding opportunity is meant to provide, Felix could opt to say the due diligence failed and then the process would come to an end. Sarah would be notified that the application was not accepted. But for the purposes of this demonstration, we want to go ahead and say this due diligence passed. Looks like a promising project. All right, so let's go with that. Now, what I as Felix want to do is let's set up a review. So I believe this is a good project to proceed with the funding, but maybe we want to make sure by asking some industry experts. So this is where we're going to ask Mark to take a look. So in a few minutes, we'll see what Mark sees, but applications. So we want to ask one or more. This is we certainly can reach out to multiple reviewers if we want. But we're going to take a look specifically at Mark today. So let's say we want this done by end of day Friday. And change the time on the due date here as well. So I'm going to save this. Save and exit. So now Felix, so what we've seen Sarah's application. We've agreed that we think Sarah's application is a good project to be funded, but we want to make sure that indeed it is. So we're going to ask some industry experts to review. In this case, just Mark. Jump back to the PowerPoint presentation here. Next, we're going to take a look at Layla. So Layla conducts the financial reviews and approvals and provides a comprehensive financial oversight. So Layla is pretty powerful in this example. We're going to take a look. Layla has more visibility into kind of the back end of the system. So what we're looking at now, we're logged in as Layla. We're seeing a part of the system that Felix wouldn't have access to. So this is kind of the configuration of those funding opportunities. We can see a list of them here. We'll notice there's only 4 available in the funding opportunities section of the portal. That's because the rest of these are not only not open, but they're also not being shown. So they may be past opportunities that have come and gone, like their end time is in the past. But what we want to do is focus here on the Community Capacity Fund. So taking a look at this, we can see there's some configuration here. This is what shows up on the tile in the portal, but specifically the budget. So Layla, being that financial analyst, has the capability to determine all the finances allocated with this. So we see here the current fiscal year, but also the total budget. So Layla has really a good, solid ability to really control the finances at an overarching level. But not only that, what we're going to see as well is now I'm going into what we saw, the same area that we saw Felix in, we're now in as Layla. We notice there's a different dashboard here, so we can actually tailor different dashboards to different user types or different roles. So this is maybe some information that would be more in line with what people at the manager level would want to see. But ultimately, what we want to do is go to a funding opportunity here. And what we want to do now, so we're going to set the decision. Okay, so now as Layla, I'm going to set this to in review. Similarly, these decision options are all fully configurable. They can be based on the previous options, so there's a sequential kind of logic to these. Start financial review. So now, as Layla, I'm going to come over to this financial transactions tab, and we can see here the current, all the information for this specific case, application. What I can do, so we saw Sarah asked for $400,000. Maybe Layla disagrees. Maybe Layla can kind of overrule that and say you're asking for 400, but we're only going to issue $350,000 or something along those lines. So whereas Felix had an overview of the project itself, Layla has the ability to review and approve the finances associated with this application. So now we're going to go back. We're going to say, you know what? As Layla, we've reviewed this. Agree. Finances look good. And we're going to go ahead and put that decision in, and we can now proceed with the next steps. One final thing we're going to take a quick look at as Layla is some more in-depth financial reporting tools. So there is a capability of having some pretty detailed Power BI inputs or hookups into this that can get a lot of really heavy reporting metrics out. So this is a way for Layla to really dig deep into the different financial designations, how things are laid out. Refresh that quickly, but what I was trying to show is you can actually narrow in on these different options. Once it refreshes, we can see by clicking on one of these options, all these numbers change, so it filters down to just that one option. Okay, so if we go to the next slide, now we're going to take a look at Mark. Is our external reviewer. He's going to review all eligible applications to determine which applicants apply for funding. So back to the browser, go to the next tab. So here you can see we're logged in as Mark, but we see the same home page. So there is a lot of similarities between what an applicant sees and what a reviewer sees. The main difference in the menu might not be quickly visible, but there are two options here, reviewer profile and my reviews, that are available to Mark that were not available to Sarah, because Sarah's in only as an applicant, whereas Mark here is an actual reviewer. So we're going to click on my reviews. And this will show Mark a list of all the reviews that have been assigned to him. So now what we see here is review of application. So this is what Felix had just assigned, just a few minutes ago, had assigned to Mark. So Mark, come in now, click on the edit button. And what we're going to see at first really is just, do we have the time to review this? Is there a scheduling conflict, or can I go ahead? If I don't want to proceed, there's selection as to why I don't want to review it. But for the sake of this demo, we're just going to go ahead and select the I will be reviewing the application button. So right now our menu is very minimal, but as soon as I click the validate and save button, we're going to be taking a look at a much bigger form. So we saw before the green check marks and the gray exclamation marks, sorry. All these other tabs, we'll notice, are very similar to what we saw Sarah enter. And that's by design. So what we're giving Mark now is all the information that Sarah already submitted, that Felix already reviewed, and now Mark has the opportunity to review those project details to give his opinion as to whether he feels this is a good match for the specific funding opportunity. Supporting documents, Mark even has the option to download and open up all of the attachments uploaded by Sarah. So Mark really does, as the reviewer, have a complete view of what is being submitted or what was submitted by Sarah, the overall project details. So in the review scoring section, here is where Mark can actually provide his feedback. So in terms of environmental benefits, is it a success? Is it not a success? I'm going to, or Mark's going to agree with Felix. We're going to say everything is highly likely to be successful. Meets the goal, goal of the funding opportunity. Click the validate save button again. And just like I've been saying before, all of this is fully configurable. Obviously, we want to show the reviewer all the information from the project, but these specific review scores, very configurable, can be set up to whatever each funding opportunity needs, what makes sense. So now what Mark is going to do is submit the form. So Mark now has had a chance to review the entire project, submit his feedback. And now we will see that Felix then has the opportunity to evaluate that external scoring that came from Mark. We'll jump back to what Felix sees. So here we are in the same page where we left off from Felix. We now get a chance to look at that review of the application again. So this was the review that a few minutes ago Felix created and what we just saw Mark fill in. So now we can look, okay, so I can see as Felix, I can see everything that Mark entered based on his review of the project that Sarah submitted at the beginning of this demonstration. So now what Felix can do, he's got his own review that he agreed. He's got Mark's review, external review, which is also in agreement that this project looks to be a success. We've got Layla as a financial analyst, her approval saying, you know what, the budget meets the financial side of things. So we're really in a good state here. So what we want to do, let's take a quick look at the next slide. So this next step is going to involve both Sarah as the applicant and Felix as the program officer. What we're going to look at here is an agreement. So what we can look at here is an agreement. We've already set up an agreement here just to save some time. We're going to just open up this agreement. And what we're going to see is that there's different clauses. So this is kind of like an initial first draft of this agreement. Obviously, there's not much in here. But what Felix can do is add some details. So this is great. Now we're going to go back and take a look, at what Sarah sees. So we do have an agreement section in this menu. We're going to take a look at that. Continue without saving. So this is a good example of there are notifications if you try to leave a page without saving your work. So if we go to this agreement, Sarah has the opportunity not only to review, but also to request changes. And we also... So now Sarah can see what's here, what was added by Felix, and Sarah can add to what's already there. We'll click validate and save. And go back to the agreement from the back end. So now we're back in as Felix. I know it's a lot of jumping around. Hopefully, I'm not going too fast. We can now go back and look at the agreement from the back end, and we can see here the additions that Sarah has made. So there is that capability for the back and forth. Ultimately, when Felix is happy with everything, there can also be here a word template that we can create. This is a very, very, very basic sample. But what we can do is actually have a Word document generated that includes information from the application, from this funding case profile. See, we've got an address here. We've got the organization, the address. So a lot of the information here is pre-populated systematically from the submission made by Sarah, as well as the updates made by Felix and Layla. So that's a pretty powerful part if you've got a standard agreement. So this can be drafted, saved by Felix, and then sent through either through email or attached through the system so that Sarah can then have it, sign it, and then share it back with Felix, who can sign it then. And both parties will have a fully signed copy. Okay, so now after the agreement has been signed, everybody's happy. Obviously, the project is going to proceed. After X amount of time, for example, let's say 6 months, Felix wants to know, or maybe that's part of the agreement, is to send a progress report every so often. So what we're gonna take a look at is how Sarah can upload a progress report, and then how Felix can approve that progress report or review it. We jump back to the portal again, go back to the menu, and we're going to click on My Applications. So here we're looking at a list of progress reports. So right now, Layla only has one application or one project in the progress report phase. If we click on the Edit button, what we will see here is just another option to upload a document. So there we see there's already one here. An attachment has already been added. So Sarah's come ahead and she's already uploaded a progress report. It's very similar. It's the exact same feature or functionality as we saw on that application form. And now if we jump back in, let's take a look at, we want to look at the supporting documents. So here we can see this is the upload coming from Sarah. We've got it here. So all contained within the funding case profile, along with the submission, all the decisions. It's one package that contains everything within, all the way from the original application, through Felix's review and the decisions, through Layla's review and the decisions, through Mark's review, the agreement, and now the progress report. So we've got all the information really all in one package within the back end for everybody in the program office to see. I think that sums up my time, so I'll hand it back to Michael, and we'll go from there.
Thanks, man. So one of the ways that Grant Plus can be delivered and supported is as SaaS, so software as a service. There are two main packages that we deliver. This is not the only way that we can deliver the solution, but it's our two most popular. So the one of them is the program level. So this would be, if your organization or department only needs one single grant program or contribution program, um, it would contain everything that you need to deliver that one program, including, staging the environment, setting up all of the environments for implementation, um, the baseline product of Grant Plus with, the configurations that many of which Ben highlighted in the demo. The system's very, very configurable, so we would be able to assist in configuring the solution to be exactly what you would need for that one program. And then, of course, help desk support. So if there was any issues with that you're experiencing throughout the process, we would be able to kind of jump in and assist wherever is necessary. Then the second one is the enterprise level. So this is ideal if you have multiple different grants or contribution programs under a portfolio. And it would contain all of the things within the program level in and additional. So, the environment setup that we mentioned, the enterprise planning and program readiness assessment. So basically, we would come in, we would do an assessment of the programs that you have, which ones are as close to being ready or launching as possible. We would do an assessment with you and your team. We would identify, these would be the quickest ways to an MVP, a most viable product. And then we would be able to iterate off that and come up with kind of a launch schedule to go live. We would obviously help with requirements and creating user stories, a backlog for that implementation, and we would be there to help support along the way as well, just like in the program level. But as I said before, this is just a kind of our most common packages. You don't have to go with one of these versions. We can deliver the solution to the department to host for themselves as well. And we have many successful deliveries like that also. So just food for thought. This is the starter kit. So basically, how we would typically deliver a solution, whether it be the enterprise or the program. We would do the first phase, which is planning. We would identify what that MVP, what that most viable product would look like. We would then, set up a statement of work. We would identify the resources. Your typical project management and planning exercises. Then we would move on to the design. So the architecture, are there any integrations that we need to consider? What are the licensing needs that we would need? And then we would obviously adjust and update the backlog for the requirements that are necessary for the solution. We would then get into the implementation phase. So this is where we would use, the agile software implementation principles. We would do sprints, implementation sprints, where, we would take work items into sprint. We would deliver on those. We would test them, and then, we would move on to the testing phase. So the UAT, once the implementation phase is done. So the user acceptance testing phase, where the subject matter experts would be going into the system, confirming that we got all the requirements right, that the implementation is lining up to their expectation, and the system is functioning the way it should. And then once we get the check mark for that, we would go to launch. So we would launch the program to prod. And then, of course, we would discuss if a customer service level agreement would be necessary to support and sustain your live solution. So that's just a quick example of how we typically deliver. One of the exciting things, and I'm sure everybody's familiar with the term that's being thrown around more and more every day now, it seems, is AI. So Microsoft is putting a lot of effort into this area, as most of you probably are aware, with Microsoft Copilot. They're looking kind of to expand how its use across all of their platforms. Just recently, they did the Office suite, and that in a similar vein, they're really putting a lot of resources into Copilot, which Dynamics has ties into as well. And we're keeping a close eye on that, our ear to the ground, so to speak, and seeing how we can implement those value adds to our solution, so that we're making the best use of the technology. Some of those areas are, pre-populating case files from applications and emails. We can scan a handwritten application, for instance, and have the values translated into digital fields. Um, we have automated assessment of grant applications. So basically, you set up your checklist, and the AI would do it for you instead of having a person go over those checklists. So then it would just be, making sure that everything was accurate, and you would get an accuracy score from the AI agent. Auto-generated case summaries. So, instead of going from field to field, like at your typical application, you would be able to have kind of a summary given to you in plain language of the application and what the applicant is trying to do, and whether or not it's going to be a successful grant application, to the best of their knowledge. And then obviously there would be intervention from the program officer as to if they wanted to approve it or not. And then there's a number of other ones that we're looking at, but this is an area that is, expanding more and more every day, and we are keeping a close eye on it. So the benefits of Grant Plus. So really quickly, from what you've seen today, we're capable of rapid implementation. The things that Ben showed you, there's a kind of baseline out of the box program that is ready to go, almost day one. Then we would kind of sit with you, understand your requirements, and configure those things in a relatively short order. It's only when there's a lot of customization where that would take a lot of time, but we're able to implement on a very short schedule. It's got full integration with Microsoft 365 and the Office suite. It improves the efficiency of the grant processing time, so you're able to look at more information quicker. It adapts to the digital strategies of each individual department as they change very quickly this day and age. There's lots of change, so the being able to pivot is very important. It supports standard business models, and can be very configurable. It integrates with a lot of third-party solutions, with using Power Automate, which is part of the Microsoft Power Platform. The reporting capabilities of the solution are very, very powerful. It's easy to look at risk information, financial reports, and performance reporting, either with the out-of-the-box Dynamics reporting, or to integrate with Power BI, which more and more departments are using these days. And it's very user-friendly and accessible. So we test for accessibility, and we test for UI compatibility and ease of use. So these are things that are top of mind, especially for our external facing portals, which are all WCAG compliant and fully accessible in multiple languages. So that being said, that's everything that we wanted to show everyone today. I don't see any questions within the Q&A tab or the chat, but if anyone had any questions, please feel free to kind of let us know. You can contact us at the email on the next slide that Ben will be showing. And yeah, we will be sharing a version of the deck with everybody that attended, and making the recording from today accessible on our YouTube channel very shortly after the session today. So if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out, and thank you very much for your time.